Okay, well, I'm Colin Huggett. I'm a member of the club, have been for, probably 10 years now. In May of this year, Stephanie and I made a trip to Iceland, um, it was self-guided on our own. We weren't part of a tour or anything like that. We thoroughly enjoyed ourselves and we thought, well, pass along some of the tips and experiences that we had. I know it's a popular place, and those of you that haven't been yet um, should go, and hopefully you'll get something useful from this talk. Yeah, this is a map of Iceland. Uh, the main city is down here in the lower left corner, right around where my mouse uh, is that blue circle. That's the capital city, Reykjavik. It is at about the same latitude as Dawson City in the Yukon. The Arctic Circle just touches the very north coast of the island. So it's quite far north. The population wise, it's uh, very much concentrated in and around greater Reykjavik. About a quarter of the population lives in Reykjavik. And then if you include the Keflavik, Grindavik Peninsula here, um, are you getting an echo?
No, it sounds good.
No? Okay. About half the population live in this peninsula here. And then the rest is spread out around the coast. The inland, the central part of the island is all glaciers and um, basically uninhabited. 60% of the land mass is tundra, um, not, um, it's not commercially usable for much. And so the people are spread out around the edge. After Reykjavik, the next biggest city is only 19,000 people. So um, it's very much concentrated down here in the Reykjavik area. Now, while I've got the map on here, I'll just show you where we're going to go in the tour here. The blue line is the road that circles the island, and that's the trip that we did. It's pretty well the only way around. There's just the one road. It's two lanes, um, quite narrow, but not a lot of traffic. Um, we're going to make a stop down here at the very bottom. Is an island that we're going to see that is down in this corner. There's an iceberg lagoon that's about halfway along here. There's a ferry from Denmark that arrives weekly in this bay over here. We crossed over the highlands here, went on a whale watching tour up here in Husavik and carried on back down to Reykjavik. There's sort of three main tourist areas. There's Greater Reykjavik, um, this area here. Then there's something they call the Golden Circle, and that goes from Reykjavik out this way and back. There's a circle tour, lots of daily bus tours. If you're only in uh, Iceland for a couple of days, then that's what you would do is the Golden Circle tour um, out of Reykjavik. And then the other tourist route, of course, is going around the circumference like we did. Okay. All right. There's downtown Reykjavik. It has a nice big pond and park right in the middle of it here, and it was full of birds. And the harbor um, here is also full of seabirds, and there are lots of boat tours if you wanted to go whale watching or puffin watching. They leave this area here. Most of the hotels and restaurants are around in this area. We stayed in a little um, inn. I'll show you a picture of it in a sec. Right down this corner of the park here. We walked out the door, crossed the street, and we were in this park. And walk up to the main town area here. I know that a lot of people think that Iceland is very expensive. Here's the where we stayed is travel in. We had our own room, a private bathroom, shared kitchen. I can't remember what we paid, but I checked. If you want to go next May, it's $138 Canadian a night, and you're right downtown. It's not expensive. That's the view across from the pond. That's the tallest building in Reykjavik, the new church spire. Um, and you can see, or maybe you can't see, but I'll tell you, it was very windy. We first arrived there. This is that same pond. You can see there's fresh snow on the mountains there. It was very windy. It was with the wind chill, it was -9 and raining and snowing and sleeting. So, um, we were there the last 2 weeks of May, which, according to the bird guide, is the best time to go. That's that if you're there to see birds, then you want to go in May. So here's some of the birds that we saw in the pond there. This whooper swan, it's the only swan in Iceland. These are common teal. See those once in a while here. Very much like a green-winged teal, except you'll see the white stripe runs horizontal instead of vertical. Common eider duck, lots of those around. The very sensibly named black-headed gull, very similar to our Bonaparte gull. It goes through the same molting stages, and the winter birds are mostly white with just a little black spot on the head. And there's one flying by. This is the greater blackback gull. They're seen on the east coast of Canada sometimes, but they're quite common. There's another picture of one. This is a pair of gray-lag geese. You can see that it has a very similar to our white-fronted goose. It has pink legs and all yellow bill, so it's not confused with the pink-footed goose, which also has pink feet, but doesn't have the fully orange bill. Now, this picture here was taken by Brian Abbott, who coincidentally was there, I think, around the same time. I haven't talked to him about it, but I gather he was there sometime around the same time. He posted some pictures, and they were much better than mine, and he kindly let me use some of them in this presentation, and this is one of them. There's another one. You can see how it got its name. This is a European golden plover, very similar to our American golden plover. Very common. Every field had lots of these in it. And in May, they're in their nice bright breeding plumage. And these are Eurasian oyster catchers, just like our black oyster catcher, except they're have the white on them. Also very common. And a red-breasted mergan, not much of a photo, but you would recognize those. Is the tufted duck. We get those here at Iona sometimes. This one's heading upwind. There's one heading downwind. There's the female. That's a white wagtail. That's another one of Brian's photos. All the good ones are from Brian. There's very few passerines there. In fact, there's very few species photos. There's 376 species recorded there, but of those, only 133 are commonly or regularly seen, and only 77 are regular breeders. And of those, there's only 9 that are passerines. The rest are all seabirds and shorebirds and hawks, etc. There's not many passerines because there's no trees for them to build nests in, and very few bugs. So not too many of them. Here's brant geese. Get those here. A raven. I include the raven because this is the only corvid in Iceland. There's no crows, no jays, no magpies. The ravens supposedly got there with the early Vikings. They had cages with sort of tame ravens in them that they would feed. And when they thought they were getting near land, they would let a bird go. He would fly up, look around. If it spotted land, he would head towards the land. And the sailors would follow it. If they couldn't find any land, then it would come back to the cage for food. And these ravens are supposedly the descendants of those early Navigans. This is one of the other passerines, a redwing. It's a European bird. They're fairly common. They're about the size of a robin, and they kind of occupy the same niche that a robin would hear. After a day in the town, we decided we were going to head out to the Grindavik Peninsula, see the cliffs, and see if we could see the shorebirds and the nesting birds. But as you can see, the weather was very windy. I don't know how the birds managed to stay in their nest when the weather's like this, but I guess they do. We went instead to the largest tourist attraction in Iceland, which is the Blue Lagoon, which is a big hot springs, outdoor hot springs. When we were there were about 1,000 people in it. and that was considered a slow day because of the slow time of the year. Apparently, they get 4 or 5,000 a day in July and August. This was the road to the lagoon, and you can see it was blocked by a lava eruption that happened about a month earlier in April. Blocked the road and filled the whole parking lot up. But I guess they're used to that kind of thing, and they had already built a detour road and a new temporary parking lot. There's the temporary road. That wall there is a berm that they built. It's probably 50 feet high, I bet, um, to keep the lava flows out. In behind it is the Blue Lagoon complex, and there's a big geothermal um, heating plant. And these berms are been built to try to channel the lava flows away from the uh, important infrastructure. But they don't always work. This is the town of Grindavik. It's about a mile and a half, 2 miles from the Blue Lagoon complex. This picture, I didn't take it, was from November of 2023 when there was an eruption and it carried on through 2024, eventually made its way to the into the city, and they had to evacuate the whole town. And now you can imagine if your house is in that suburb, this is what you got to deal with now, 10, 15 feet of lava. After our stay in Reykjavik, we got booked a couple of nights in this farmhouse. It's a beautiful little spot. You can see there's no trees around. And this place, like just about all of Iceland, the heating and the hot water is geothermal produced. And this place had nice hot water radiators in every room. You could turn them on and off, kept the room nice and toasty. And the water, instead of circulating through a boiler, there was just a hose at the back of the house that came out and ran down into a ditch. And the hot water just ran into the ditch. It's steam pouring out of the ditch. Basically, a free heating. These are Iceland horses. We don't like to be called ponies, apparently. If you call them ponies, the locals get mad at you. They're horses. They were introduced along with sheep and reindeer. The only um, um, non-introduced mammal in Iceland is an Arctic fox. Um, all the other only other mammals are basically domesticated cows, horses, and reindeer. And there was a mink farming experiment back in the 30s, and some of those escaped, and there's apparently still the wild ones around. There's some of the sheep. The sheep are raised for their wool, not their meat. And the wool industry is very big in Iceland. That's the meadow pipit. That's one of the other, one of the 9 passerines. They were very common. Whenever we saw a small bird in the bush, we'd keep thinking, oh, there's something new, and but got to look at it. No, it always turned out to be this meadow pipit. Here's another view of one. That's an Arctic tern. There are lots of those there. They nest on the ground all over the island, and they're very common. There's some with feeding it down by the beach with the day's catch. There's one sitting on a nest. There's a pipit again. This is a common snipe, pretty similar to our Wilson snipe. I'm just going to, here's one flying. Didn't have the camera that could capture them flying, but I wanted to take this picture because of the noise they make. Hope you can hear this. Can you hear that?
Nope.
No?
Nope, can't hear it.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Why can't you hear that?
that's curious. I don't know.
You can't hear that.
No.
Oh, brother. Well, they they have a display that they do, a territorial display. They look a lot like a hummingbird, where they go straight up and then straight down, circling around their area. And when they come down, their feathers make this winnowing noise. And it sounds just like a kind of like a drumming. It's very loud. And when you're walking around in a field, you hear them all the time, all over the place.
Hmm.
That's northern wheat here. I hadn't seen one of those before. I know we have them in Canada, but that's another one of the passerines. These are Wimbrel. They'd be familiar to us. There's that Eurasian golden plover sitting on a nest. This is another one of Brian's photos. This is their yellow legs. They're quite common as well. You see wherever there's any kind of a puddle or a field around, any kind of water, you find these red shanks. One heading around the island. It's just basically the one road that everybody follows. Although it wasn't busy. And there's lots of scenery to stop and look at. This is one of the waterfalls. There's the main road. You can see it's not a big highway. You can go behind this one. There's a walk behind it. You can see it's not that crowded. There's not that many people there. This is a falls. This is on that Golden Circle route. If you're there for just a couple of days and you do the Golden Circle route, it'll include this, as well as some geysers and hot springs. And this river follows the, you can see here the divide between the North American and European tectonic plates. The divide between them runs right through Iceland. That's the source of all the geothermal activity. The two plates are slowly moving apart, And as they do, the lava um, um, flows up out of the gap that's created. And this river is flowing down what was the gap between those plates. I say it's the only place in the world where you can walk from Europe to North America. That's some of the scenery. This is one of the lakes inside. You can see there's some trees starting to um, being reforested. Apparently, when the first Vikings arrived, about 40% of the island was forested, but the early settlers basically cut all the trees down for building materials, fire, and they're slowly now starting to replant some of the forests. Um, Another mountain you can see. There's lots of fresh snow there. It's still pretty cold, windy, and not a lot of trees. Just basically short shrub grass. It's great for looking at birds. The birds can't hide behind the leaves and sit on the other side of the tree, like they do here whenever we're trying to find them. That's a black-tailed godwit. These were very common too, saw lots of those, a pair of them. Very similar to our marbled godwit. There's that pipit again. Red-necked phalarope. Red-throated loon, those here. This is the town at the south end of the island, close to the southernmost tip. We liked it because we could pronounce the name of it. Most of the places had unpronounceable names, but not just to us. Apparently, Icelandic is a language unto itself. The rest of the Scandinavian countries can't understand it either. And there's no Google Translate doesn't have an Icelandic app, so only an Icelander can understand what they're talking about. That's where this is the hotel we stayed in on the left. It was about the only hotel. Every other place we stayed was usually a farmhouse or apartment or something like that. You can see it's still pretty cold. Everybody there's got all their winter clothes on. If you like long walks on deserted beaches, then you'd be right at home here. It's only black sand beaches. Um, um, Very secluded. That's some killer whales. You saw we took this picture from the land, not from a boat. They're in quite close to shore. These are some of the sea cliffs, and you can see the nesting birds here. Those are black-legged kittiwakes, very similar to our, say, short-billed gull or California gull, sort of medium size. You can see any kind of a they don't need very much real estate to make their nest. And how they manage to stay there and keep everything in place during those storms with the waves crashing and the wind and I don't know, but they managed somehow. Some more of them. The tourist infrastructure is pretty good for viewing them. They have turnoffs off the road and park areas, walks, um, and it's it's pretty good. It's, I'm not sure. I think those are probably kittiwakes too. This is a fulmar. They nest in the cliffs too. They make a little more of a nest than the kittiwakes. These are tube nose elsevier, like our auklets. This is the island that we went to on the south end. You take a little ferry. It's about an hour ferry ride, a half-hour ferry ride. And this is the town that the ferry goes to. And this is quite an interesting town here. We're standing, this picture's taken from the top of a volcano that erupted in 1973 and went down and covered half the town. The town used to go right across the whole picture frame here. But the volcano erupted and the lava went down over the town, and they were very worried it was going to block the entrance into the harbor here, which would have been the end of the town. It was basically a big fishing port. And so they brought in all kinds of big water pumps. They had firefighting tugs, Navy ships, uh, all kinds of pumps, water that they're spraying on the face of the lava flow, trying to stop it from blocking the harbor. And eventually it did work, and we were able to stop it, and the harbor's still open. There's a trail now that walks across the lava field, and as you go, there's little brass plaques that tell you what's underneath you. So it'll say 150 feet below you was Joe's Barber Shop, and the next plaque will be, you know, such and such hotels here. But life carries on. I don't know. I'd be kind of worried knowing in 1973 this half of the town went. I don't know what the real estate values are like if you're up against that flow there. From there, you can take boat tours out to the seabird nests. These are just 10 minutes from that harbor. These are kittiwakes. These look like pigeon guillemots, but they're not. They're black guillemots. Very similar. These are called in Europe common guillemots, but we know them as common murres. Some of them have this eye stripe in it. I don't know if you can see that. The white stripe behind the eye. Some have it, some don't. There's a pair of eider ducks flying. Here's a typical nesting situation. Here you have a detached home. Up here is probably in northern Fulmar. There's a duplex here with a pair of kittiwakes. And then there's some row housing down here with mirrors and razorbills. They all seem to get along with each other. And the other thing you can see from the weather, that after those first couple of days, the sun came out, the wind died down, and by the end of the first week, it was t-shirt weather. You just never know what the weather's going to do. This is Iceberg Lagoon, the largest glacier in Europe, is in the southeast corner of the island, and it touches the sea here at this lagoon. Icebergs regularly calf off it and then make their way through the lagoon and out into the Atlantic. Past that is this giant lava field. This is the probably, I don't know, 30, 40 kilometers of lava field. And it's left over from they're called the Laki eruptions in 1783. And that was the largest eruption in world history. It basically resulted in long, cold winters in Europe and Asia, right around the world for a number of years. And it killed off about a third of the population in Iceland and over half of the animals, and contaminated the soil for a long time from the sulfur and other volcanic ash. So now there's this lava field, and you can see now much grows on it. This is a couple of 100 years old, and all there is like a sort of a mossy lichen cover on it. This is traveling further along. You can see there's no shortage of gravel building materials in Iceland. These are huge talus slopes. You can just see the road along the bottom running along here, the highway. That's the another glacier, comes down almost to the road. That peak up here, that's the highest point in Iceland. There it is there. It's about, oh, I can't remember now. I think it's about 10, 11,000 feet. It's not that high. But, there's a common shelduck. That's a Arctic skua in Europe, but we know it here as a parasitic Jaeger. I found them hard to get a good picture of. They're very fast flyers, and they're attacking all the gulls. As soon as any other bird has something that looks tasty, these guys are right on it. You can see the long pointed tail they have that's diagnostic. This is one of the fishing villages along the way. There aren't a lot of ports because of the, I guess, the way the lava flows out, and where there is one, they've been developed for fishing. That's a great skua, another sort of predator bird. You can see that this is the moraine from the glacier where it's retreated. You can see the snow behind. This is one of the places we stayed in. That's our rental car there. This is our apartment here. Self-contained kitchen, bathroom, the whole 9 yards. Very nice. But the neighbors here are kind of noisy. That's them. They hear all this noise. What's going on? I went out, had a look, and sure enough, the barn was full of sheep. That was the view out the front window. You can see the weather now is pretty darn nice. Go for a walk around the waterfront here. And that's the main highway there. Not busy, not a big road. This is the town on the very east side of the island. This is where the ferry from Denmark comes. There's a weekly ferry, leaves Denmark, it stops at the Faroe Islands, and then here, and then back to Faroe Island. If you wanted, you could, if you're going to Europe, you could fly to Reykjavik, then take the ferry to Faroe Islands, spend a couple of days there, and then carry on to Denmark and you're in Europe. The road then cuts over the top of the hill through the snow and ice down to, this is Husavik, another fishing village. So it looks a lot like you're in Alaska. We did a whale watching tour. This was the boat we went on. There we are there. These are great cormorants. Pretty similar to our double-crested, bit bigger. And this was the sister ship of the one we were on. These are all puffins here. The whale boat, watching boat, couldn't get too close because it's quite shallow. But these are all puffins. They nest in the grass. They dig a shallow little burrow and lay some eggs. There's one floating in the water. There's some whales that we did actually see. There were quite a few out there, and they didn't seem to bother. The whale watching boats didn't seem to bother them. Got quite close to them. This is in the town. You can see they have a sense of humor with their stoplights there. I never did figure out what this traffic sign meant. Why there are lines through the 30. They don't go 30K or. Then this is one of the volcanoes. There's approximately 130 volcanoes in Iceland. There's lots of them. This was the only one we saw that actually looked like a volcano. You've got the classic triangle shape. You can see it's all pretty fresh. There's no vegetation. This is just bare black lava. There's a large central lake here, and that's where some of the best birding is in that central area. This is another place we stayed in. This used to be a bookstore, and they've converted it into apartment. There's the bedroom, nice little kitchen, front room. That picture was taken at about 11 o'clock at night. In May, the sun doesn't set. Just sort of gets kind of twilighty about 2 in the morning. And this place, I think, was not more than, say, $110, $120 a night. There's one of the sandy beaches. There's another black sand beach. Some more of the cliffs, nesting birds. There was eider ducks. All of these would be familiar to you with Dunlin here. Ruddy turnstones and oyster catchers. This is a turnstone. We see them here in their winter plumage. They're kind of dull, but you can see they're quite bright when they're in the breeding plumage. And you might think, well, it's not very good camouflage, that white sand. But how many can you see in that picture? One there, one there, one there. It's pretty good camouflage when you want it. There's one flying. They have that characteristic sort of W shape, white wing tops. There's a fulmar nesting. They make a bit more of a nest than the kittiwakes do. There's one flying. You can see the tube nose on them. There's sitting on a nest. There's some puffins. There's some more puffins. There's another one of Brian's photos. His camera had the reach to get a good view of them. There's a good one. Barnacle geese. This is Brian's photo as well. I didn't see barnacle geese, but he did. It's a bunch of terns on the parking lot. There's lots and lots of them. Fishing. That's a European shag. It's kind of like our pelagic cormorant, about the same size. There's a pair of them there. Some gannets. There's a common gull here, this all white one. And then these are black-backed and greater blackback. And there's the greater, and there's the lesser. The lesser has the yellow legs. And the wings are gray rather than black. There you can see the lesser wings are gray, not the black. And there's a glaucous gull, kind of like our glaucous winged gull, no black on it. If you want to see gulls, you got to follow one of these commercial fishing boats. This guy was working just off the coast there. There must have been, I don't know, thousands of gulls and seabirds following it. There's some more cliffs. You can see the nest site here. More cliffs. And these are guillemots here. There's a razorbill here, kittiwakes. That's the razorbill. It's almost identical to the kittiwake except for the bill. There's some razor bills. Common mirrors, nest site. Kittiwakes. They're all jammed in there. I don't know how they manage to hold on when the wind and the waves get up. Harlequin ducks. There are no endemic species in Iceland. So all the birds you see in Iceland, you can see somewhere else. But there's three species that of North American birds that only appear in Europe and Iceland. That makes sense. So if you're a European birder, if you want to see a harlequin duck, Barrow's goldeneye, or a common loon, you have to go to Iceland to see them. They're not. They're not going to be a big attraction for us, of course, but if you're a European birder, those are the birds that you're looking for. And a long-tailed duck as well in that list. We see them here in their winter plumage. Here you can see breeding plumage, quite brightly colored. There's some scaup with the long-tailed duck, ringed plover, and that's it. That's a black kittiwake. So that's it for the photos. Anybody's got any questions? See if I missed anything.
Bruce, are you awake?
Oh yeah, I'm here. I got a question for you, Colin. How long were you guys there? And for answer that first, I guess is the question. How long was your trip?
Just over 2 weeks, which we found was a good amount of time. We thought we'd seen most of what we wanted to see. We were able to do it in that time. We weren't too rushed.
That was my second question. Is that too much, not enough? You didn't feel too rushed over that period of time?
No, it seemed about right. The in terms of the accommodation and that, we did what we usually do on our trips is we booked the flight, car rental, and the first 2 nights accommodation, and then we just wing it after that. And we had no problem at all finding accommodation. We usually look the same day, 3, 4 in the afternoon, we started looking around. Usually use booking.com. And we're all had no trouble finding good accommodation. And we didn't find it that expensive.
Yeah, you said that. Do you know how many different types of whales you saw on this trip?
I think 3: humpback, minke, and orca.
And was that due to the time of year, or do you know that there was?
I'm not sure. I think the humpback, anyways, are there pretty much all year.
Excellent presentation.
If you're going to go, and I checked the you need, if you're going to go, you got to get the Iceland bird guide. I don't know, can you see that?
Yep, can see it's fine.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. It's really good. It has, because there's so few species, it can devote, a couple of pages to each one. And it's all the bird information I've given you. That's where it came from, out of this book. And it says the best time to go is from the middle of May to the first week of June. That's when there's the most migrants and the most nesting birds there. And the weather's not too bad. Or yeah, I guess you just take your chances with the weather. And it's not that crowded. We never thought, oh boy, this place is getting to be a bit of a zoo or something.
Your mystery on the traffic sign is answered in the chat group by Shanti. I don't know if everyone can access it. That says traffic signs with the number 30 crossed out by horizontal lines indicate the end of a previous restriction, meaning the prior speed limit and other rule no longer applies, and the general rules of the road are now in effect.
Okay. Well,
Colin, I really enjoyed your presentation, and I loved the all of the countryside too, the photography of the areas. Very interesting, and I really like to hear you say the way you travel, because that's the way I've done it too, but through Europe, and 2 days where you know you're going to be after you get off the plane, and then you just wing it. It allows for a lot of flexibility, and as long as you're in a town or a city by about 3 o'clock, no problem just hunting around and finding a spot. Thank you.
Yeah, lots of comments in the chat group from Anne Murray, Carol Rennie, Mary Tate, Audrey had one as well, just thanking you and commenting on the positive pictures. So, Colin, I'm not sure if you had a chance to read them or not. They're all in there.
Okay. No, I can't see the.
Just go down to the middle bar where it says chat and double click it. It'll kind of bring it up on the right side of your screen.
Okay.
Elizabeth, I'm assuming you don't have a microphone, correct? All right. I don't see any other questions for you, Colin. So again, thank you very much. That was very good. I've not been to Iceland, but I think you've planted some seeds. So thank you for doing that.
Okay, and thanks to Jim Niche for persevering with my technical problems.
That's all right.
And
We worked out well in the end.
And to Harry, who regularly gets frantic emails from me asking how I should fix some technical problem I'm having.
Post on Flickr.
Right. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. So that is our October meeting, our AGM. Just a reminder that you can be